welcome back to my little series for Vampire the Masquerade and One World by Night. In this episode, we're going to cover blood magic. You're going to hear it a lot when you play. It's one of the more powerful powers in the game itself. It can be difficult to get, and there's a lot of complexity to it. So we'll start off with what is blood magic. Blood magic is literally magic spells powered by vampires. It is broken down into two major categories. You have what we'll call thaumaturgy or blood magic. Generally, when they refer to blood magic, they're talking about those and necromancy, the two main types. Now, within those types, there's subtypes. This is going to get really complex. So I'm going to kind of review those for you. The main type of blood magic thaumaturgy that we're going to be talking about is what's called Hermetic Tharmaturgy. This is the magic powers of the Tremere clan. It is one of their in-clan disciplines. In the world of darkness, not necessarily one world, it is the most common blood magic that can be found among vampires. And blood magic as a whole is not so much like an innate discipline. It can be learned. It's much more of a philosophy and understanding and knowledge that is accrued over time to be able to cast these specific spells. So as a brief rundown for blood magic, I'm going to give you a summary of the schools of blood magic. So we have Aku, which is the blood magic of the followers of Set. It's an Egyptian-based blood magic on that particular fictional version of the Egyptian pantheon. Next, you have Duran Key. This is primarily found among the Assamites. It's a Mesopotamian blood magic. Again, generally around ancient Babylonian deities and those practices to a fictionalized version. You have Nahuatl, which you will probably never come across, is a South American blood magic dedicated to Aztec gods and their practices. Next, you have Sedona, which is a blood magic generally practiced by the vampires of India. The Ravnos practice it a lot. It is for those of the twisted faiths of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. They are not copies of the real world. They're fictional vampire versions of them. Then you have dark thaumaturgy, which is learned very specifically from demons and will most definitely get your character killed if you get caught with that. You have Slavonic thaumaturgy, which is a Lithuanian blood magic related to their gods of ancient times. You have Anarch sorcery, which is the blood magic of the Anarchs, which goes into its own schools and kind of themes related to it. You have Koldanic sorcery, which is the blood magic of the Tzimisce clan that comes from Eastern Europe and Eastern European traditions. And then lastly, you have Wanga, which is a Korean blood magic based off of ancient African practices mixed with Christianity and fits really the mood of that area and is generally practiced by the Serpents of the Light, which are a Sabbat clan of vampires. And that covers the blood magic aspect of it. There's also Abyss Mysticism, which is a blood magic of the Lasombra, but it's only rituals, only very specific rituals. For necromancy, there is going to be Mortis, which is an ancient form of necromancy before the Giovanni existed, practiced only generally by the Harbingers of Skulls, a Sabbat bloodline. You have Voodoo necromancy, which is very voodoo-based in the Caribbean. You have Western necromancy, which is practiced by the Giovanni, which is very ancestor worship kind of thing going on with it. You also have Eastern necromancy, which is based on Asian practices, and African necromancy, which deals with African cultures and beliefs. Again, these are all not direct conversions from the real world. They are twisted from a vampiric point of view. They are fictional interpretations and inspirations, not direct conversions. And that pretty much covers what the different types of blood magics are. As you can see, a lot of specific clans and bloodlines can get them. Some of them are based more on religion than anything else, and your character having to fit a specific mold in order to get them. Blood magic is broken up into two things. Paths, which work just like disciplines, except you can buy many different types of them. And then you have rituals. Rituals are specific powers that have component requirements and time requirements. They're not things you can kind of just do instantly, and they all have their own effect as to what they do and are specific. Again, the White Wolf Wiki will be of immense help, showing you what old paths of blood magic are, giving you a brief rundown of what they do, and kind of even how you can get them to a degree, which brings us to our next point. How do I get blood magic? The answer to that is either very easily or very difficult. If you play a clan that gets it, it's pretty easy. Tremere, get it. Serpents of the Light can just get it. Those are the two ones that pretty much at storyteller approval you can just get. Tremere art storyteller approval. They have to notify the coordinator that you've made one, but that's it. Sabat has Serpents of the Light, and they get Wonga, and those are storyteller approval. Everything else is going to require involvement of a coordinator. They have to say yes to it. So the Assamites who get Duran Key, the Assamite sorcerers, you need the Assamite coordinator to say yes to that you can play that you can have it. Generally speaking, coordinators are okay with approving you for blood magic if you've done the role play to get it, you have another character teaching you, and it makes sense for your character. Those are kind of the three big points you want to hit. If your character is a devout Catholic vampire for their beliefs, they're probably not going to practice Sedona and worship a Hindu god. It doesn't make sense. So it's got to make a thematic sense for your character to have it. There are a lot of variety of conditions and rules for how approvals are gained. Sometimes if there's too many of a character with a type of blood magic in the organization, a coordinator might just say no because there's too many. So ultimately, you got to work with your storyteller and a coordinator as to the options available to you. Don't assume you're going to get it. Don't get upset if you get told no. It happens. It's also not the most difficult thing to acquire either. A lot of times people just kind of assume that they can't ever have it and won't ever get it, so they don't bother asking. It never hurts to ask. Just ask. Coordinators and storytellers are very often to work with players to make things that fit their character concept. And a lot of times coordinators and storytellers, if they're hesitant to give someone blood magic, it is because it is extremely powerful. It can often make or break a vampire in combat, unfortunately. In tabletop, blood magic, we say, is often neat in utility. It's not very powerful in combat. It can be in certain situations, but it's not a deal breaker. For whatever reason, in live-action roleplay, they have made blood magic the end-all, be-all. It is the number one best combat powers in the game are in blood magic. The best abilities are in blood magic. It is all very, very, very good, and you'll see a lot of really, really powerful characters with it as a result, because of how incredibly important and powerful it can be. And that doesn't mean your character is completely useless without blood magic. There are other ways to get benefits that people just innately get from blood magic by knowing what's in those books. There's a lot of merits and obscure powers that can help give you that additional push to allow you to compete with someone with blood magic when you don't, but it can often feel detrimental, unfortunately. And I think it's the responsibility of the storytellers and the players to kind of help mitigate that, to make blood magic cool and keep it powerful, but don't let that be the detriment to other players who don't have that, because the majority won't. So, and there's obviously a good chunk of most house rules for games will cover blood magic. A lot of them try to limit its power because the conversions for it are not good. They're not good. They're really bad and make it way, way too powerful. So most house rules will cover extensively rules on blood magic. If you don't care about blood magic, you don't have to pursue it. It's not something you need. You should still familiarize with it because you're going to come across it eventually, and you don't want to go, what does that do? I don't know anything about it. Don't be afraid to ask. So there's at least 3 books dedicated to blood magic in and of itself. You've got Blood Magic, Secrets of Thaumaturgy, Blood Sacrifice, Thaumaturgy Companion, and then Rites of the Blood from V20. That's just 3 books covering blood magic, so it can tell you how prevalent it is. So there's a lot of information. I hope I covered most of the basics of it. Like I said, I strongly recommend checking out his books if that's something you're interested in. Talk to your storytellers, coordinator. And of course, the White Wolf Wiki, like I said, is immensely useful. It'll detail you out for what each of those paths are, what their powers, give you a general idea of what they do. I mean, if that's something you interest you, definitely pursue it. All right, so that's going to wrap up this episode. Hopefully that was helpful. Next episode is episode 6, Combat. See you then.